Good morning, Lieutenant Galloway with the Eufaula Fire and Rescue for the weekly reports of February the 17th through February 20th. As of this day, we've had a total of 28 calls. It's been a busy week for us. We've had 2 building fires, 1 cooking fire, 1 excessive heat fire, 19 EMS calls, 1 electrical wiring fire, 1 service call, 1 public service assistance, 1 public service, and 1 burn permit approved. Our first fire was at a cooking fire at 512 South Randolph Avenue. This was a grease fire. En route, the dispatch advised that the occupant had removed the container that was on fire out of the structure residence and was trying to extinguish it outside. When we got there, we just had to stomp out a little bit of grass. So that no major damage to that structure. Our next one was an excessive heat or scorch burns. This was at the 650 Parkers Drive. Was called the smoke coming from the washroom. When they got there, they found that in the dryer, the lint screen was somewhat melted. I was unsure exactly what the malfunction with the dryer was, so it was unplugged and the power was cut to that receptacle until an electrician could get there to check it out. Next one was an electrical wiring problem. This was at 911 South Eufaula Avenue. For a smell of smoke was the original call. When they arrived on scene, they found that a light ballast had begun to malfunction in a fluorescent light. It was disassembled and disconnected, and power was cut to that light fixture, and an electrician was notified to come and check that out. Our building fire at 1366 North Eufaula Avenue. This was a grease fire in the barbecue pit there at the River City Barbecue. They were in the process of cleaning their grill system last night, and at that time when they relit, there was still some grease there that managed to flash and catch on fire and was minor damage to the structure. They did real good about one of the employees being able to use a water hose to knock it down until our arrival. Our next building fire was at 530 Gamage Road. This was another kitchen fire. Upon investigation, they found the area of origin to be near the left front of the stove. There was a burning pan. The occupant said they had removed the burning pan and put it over into the sink prior to our arrival, but the minor damage done to the kitchen area, and the entire structure was checked with thermal imaging cameras and found no other fire or smoke left in the structure. With all that being said, the one thing we want to try and once again encourage, our biggest thing that we see from our fires, from going back and doing our statistics, is cooking. So we want to again encourage everyone to please use special care with your cooking. If you have to leave the stove, turn the stove off. Try and use some more diligence about watching over some of that stuff. Other than that, though, that's all the fire department. We've engaged this week, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. American Buildings has been very gracious about working with us. We want to let the public know that this is one of our premier factories here in town that we work with closely. They're very proactive about their safety program for their employees, as well as helping us, the fire department, and other agencies that come into their facility. They've allowed us to tour their structure and offices this week with all 3 of our shifts, and we'll be scheduling a drill with them pretty soon. So we thank them for that opportunity and the things they do for us, as well as our other companies. I'd like to also say a thank you to the Southern Plastics. They do donate some of their leftover pallets and stuff and containers that they have to us for use during our drills and our schools to Cinderlo Curley. They do a real good job about opening up their factory for us when we're doing our hazmat programs. So we want to say to these companies, we appreciate their efforts to help us, and us trying to keep our citizens safe in town, help us with our training. So other than that, that's it for the fire department this week. We just hope everyone has a good weekend, and we know there's some storms supposed to be coming in. We hope they don't turn out severe, so just try and stay safe and take care of yourself, and we'll see everyone Monday.
Let's go back and review something for a second.
Okay.
You talked about the grease fires. We've talked about it before, but apparently people aren't necessarily listening. What should people do when they have a grease fire in the kitchen?
The best thing, the most times that a grease fire occurs is when someone's frying something with a type of grease. A lot of people now, because of the different programs, health situations, they use different types of greases and oils that have a higher ignition temp or a lower ignition temperature, I should say, and is more prone to ignite. These oils are thinner than what they used to be in some of the other cookings. The best thing to do is always have a lid nearby. Most frying pans now have the small little hole in the top where you can stick a thermometer down through it. You want to try and have a solid lid. The best thing is, if you can, to approach that pan with that lid, place the lid on it, turn the stove off immediately, and slide the pan, if you can, onto another eye. It's best not to even move the pan sometimes. Just turn the stove off, kill the heat source, and place a lid on that. Some other things that we usually tell people is baking powders, baking sodas type stuff. Again, any type of fine material like that can actually flash. We suggest people not try and pour something onto the grease itself. Usually what happens is, even if they're using some kind of powder, they end up actually splashing that because they throw it in a clump, and it winds up moving that and making it worse. So it's best to try and contain it to the container, turn off the ignition source if you can, and just cover it up and let the air be taken from it, and it'll go out. Another thing that we suggest, and this is the best thing for cooking fires, they actually make a small canister fire extinguisher, which has a heat sensor on it. It has magnets on it. You can buy them relatively cheap. They actually stick up onto the metal hood range hoods, and if a fire begins on the stove, these little sensors on these canisters will activate the canister. It will pop off, ejecting a chemical extinguishing agent from the canister down onto the stove. It may not completely put the fire out depending on what is burning, but it will knock it down to a point to where we can get there, and it'll keep down the amount of damage done. So we encourage everyone to check with your local fire extinguisher services that are in the area and see about getting those canisters. Those are the best thing that we like to try and tell people. If you don't do that, at least keep you a small kitchen handheld fire extinguisher in your kitchen, usually not next to the stove. A lot of people make the mistake of putting it right next to the stove, and when the stove catches on fire, they can't get to the extinguisher. Put the extinguisher on the other side of the room near an exit. If you can extinguish a fire, extinguish it. If you can't, utilize the fire extinguisher to ensure your safe exit from the residence, and call us, and we'll be there as quick as possible to extinguish that for you. So those are just some helpful tips that we try and give out to maintain that, but the biggest thing is just pay attention to what you're doing when you're cooking.
Next arrest report is for Terry Blake Spence, and he was charged with disorderly conduct. Next arrest report is for Tori D. Allen, and she was arrested for contempt of court. The next arrest report's also for Tori D. Allen. She was also arrested for public intoxication and disorderly conduct. Next arrest report is for Amber Lovell, and she was charged with theft of property, 3rd degree. The next arrest report is for Jennifer Lynn Williams, and she was arrested for theft of property, 3rd degree. The next arrest report is for Terry Clements White, and she was arrested for driving while license suspended and failure to appear. The final arrest report is for Cicely Nicole Parsons, and she was arrested for hindering prosecution, first degree. And those are the reports for February the 17th through February the 20th of 2014.
On the juvenile reports that are kind of real close together, that as you reported them, are they a similar incident or the same incident or different incidents?
Yes, the two incident offense juvenile reports are related.
Okay.
They all coincide with one another.
Also, the other day, the cue ball had a broken door and a robbery apparently. Any information on that?
It was actually a burglary
Okay.
and theft of property, third, and we did make an arrest on that case.
Okay.
You know that there's a dangerous animal bite here. You know the breed of that dog? Or I'm assuming it was a dog, couldn't be. Someone's pet lion.
Report says possibly a shepherd mixed breed. It was brown and black. And that's the officer's opinion that it was either that or the victim said that it was a possible shepherd mixed breed.
Did they get that dog and take it to the pound, or?
I don't believe so. It sounds like the dog stopped biting him and ran off. So I don't think the dog has been apprehended at this time.
I noticed that this report is substantially different than the others, and just in its format. Does this have to do with our murder case?
It does.
This was Parsons. Hindering prosecution, someone that knew some information or something of that nature?
I've provided some assistance, aided.
Okay. And the
Suspect.
suspect in the murder case?
That's correct. This is Detective Lance Abbott with Eufaula Police Department, and these are the reports from February 17th through February the 20th, 2014. We had a total of 33 traffic arrests. There was a total of 12 misdemeanor arrests and a total of 3 felony arrests, which brings a total of 48 total arrests for this time frame. There were 4 traffic accidents. First, I'm going to cover the uniform incident offense reports, and the first report is for domestic violence, third degree. This occurred at the 1200 block of North Eufaula Avenue. The next one is for theft of property, second degree, which occurred at Liberty, in Liberty parking lot. The next report is for criminal trespass, second degree, which occurred at West Washington Street. The next report is for domestic violence, third degree, and this occurred on East Broad Street. Next report is for dangerous animal. An animal bite occurred on Randolph Avenue at Kent Drive. Next report is for duty to give information and render aid. This is basically a leaving the scene of the accident of an accident. And this occurred at Alabama Highway 95 and Eufaula Avenue. The next report is for theft of property, third degree, and for unauthorized use of a vehicle. And this occurred on Old Dale Road. Next report is for reckless endangerment and criminal mischief, third degree. And this occurred on South Eufaula Avenue. Next report is for theft of property, third degree, and this occurred on South Eufaula Avenue. The next incident offense report occurred on Dale Road and was for burglary 3rd degree and theft of property 3rd degree. There's a juvenile incident offense report which was reference to a theft of property 3rd degree which occurred on South Eufaula Avenue. Another juvenile report for receiving stolen property 1st degree and attempting to elude a police officer on South Eufaula Avenue. That was for the arrest from February the 17th through February the 20th. First is a juvenile arrest in reference to the theft of property 3rd degree that occurred. Next is for receiving stolen property 1st degree, and this is also a juvenile. And the next arrest report is for harassment and disorderly conduct, and this is also a juvenile report, or juvenile arrest report. The next arrest report is for Volley Tillman Floyd Jr., and this is for burglary 3rd degree and theft of property 3rd degree.